Alright, so this video is gonna be a little different. Usually, I have like this whole script that I read out for like the concepts. Either that, or I just play a game and talk my mind. But this time, I'm just talking my mind because there's no game to play. Bye Bye Night is under a very long maintenance. The Discord right now is going kinda crazy. Though not as crazy as I've seen many other Discords go for a long maintenance. Because for the first time in forever, it isn't under lockdown. I've seen games that go under maintenance, and pretty much every channel is on lockdown. I'm getting off topic though anyways. So I'm going to be talking about the fighter rework ideas that I have right now. Because if you didn't know, they're going to, instead of adding the new survivor role, they're going to replace that with a fighter rework. Because they were getting a little too ambitious. I'm perfectly happy with that. I don't know what the new survivor could even be, so I had zero expectations for him. A fighter rework, I'm happy with because fighter definitely needs it. It is by far the worst class in the game right now. And I know there's some like hardcore fighter mains that like try to tell you it's actually the best role in the game and you're just bad. I'm sorry, buddy. No, it isn't. Frankly, it's a pretty flawed role. The biggest flaw in this is the counter. The counter itself is alright. I don't really have a problem with it. The problem is you need to land the counter to use your main ability, the swing. Without, well, I guess the counter is the main ability, but the swing is like pretty vital. It's one out of the two moves you're allowed to have, and most of the game you're not going to have it if you can't land the counter, which will be most games if you're not fighting a newbie killer, because more, I can't really say professional killers, but more knowledgeable, yeah, I guess, more knowledgeable killers would just know to bait your counter out. There are ways to land good counters as fighter. I've seen pretending to do generators, or saving a ragdoll survivor, which sometimes works. I think there is this trick where you could disable spring trap, spare trap, and if the spring trap decides to try to hit you, you can also counter during the animation of you disabling the trap. So that's pretty cool. But other than those pretty niche situations, the killer usually always has a counter to it, which is just called not swinging. So here's my first rework idea for it. I've said this in my first ever Bye Bye Night video, I'm pretty sure at least. They're going to allow fighter to be able to use his swing without requiring a counter charge. So I guess it'd be called a level 0 swing. And with that level 0 swing, it'd be way weaker, maybe a 1.5 stun instead of the 3, and it won't apply debuffs. It won't be that strong, but at least they can use the swing to counter, or to save someone, I mean, instead of just being useless for the rest of the match after either hitting it or missing it. But anyway, I wrote down more ideas here. I kind of brainstormed some fighter rework ideas I had, because I feel like the one I just said, the very first one, kind of boring. I wouldn't hate it, but it's kind of boring, and I want to make this video longer than 1 minute. So let me go off the list. The first one I have on this list is, crap, I already said that. The next one, idea I had here is to give Perry something else to do. So like, I guess it'd be a third ability. If you have 0 swing, right? If you have no charges at all, it'll turn X swing into a tackle. Yeah, I think that'd be way better. I just kind of thought of that right now. That wasn't even in the little bullet point I made that you can't see. If you used your X swing and you don't have any more charges, your X swing changes into a tackle. So you could tackle and push back the killer. It won't stun them, it'll just push them back a little bit. So you could save someone or give other survivors more time to run away. Of course, the killer will be stunned a little bit so they can't hit a fighter when they're, middle of being tackled. But other than that, after the tackle ends, the killer gets pushed back, they'll be able to hit. So it's not a stun, it's a, I don't know what to describe it, I don't even know where we're going with this. The next idea here I have for the fighter rework is fighter clashing with killers. Or yeah, that's pretty cool. So the swing? If you use that ability while killers, I don't know, let's say spring trap. If you use X swing while spring trap is trying to use his charge ability and you two hit each other with it, it'll initiate a clash. Now what that clash could be, I don't know, but I think it'd look pretty cool. It'd play a cool cinematic, maybe a little minigame. If the fighter wins, it should probably end in like a draw where they stalemate, and if the killer wins, then the fighter will be ragdoll on the floor and maybe take some damage. These ideas aren't very fully fleshed out if you couldn't tell, but I feel like that'd be pretty cool. There could also be one for like if he X swings into Ennard pole and they gotta like play tug of war. I don't really have an idea from the Nick, I'm sorry. Let's see, the next bullet point here I have. So you know how you can get 3 charges for a fighter, and have you use your swing, it drains all 3 or whatever the amount you had. In this situation, if a fighter decides to barricade a door, however many charges they have for the counter, the door will be able to take an extra hit. So let's say the fighter goes into a door that has no more HP, it has 1 hit left and it'll break, and they decide to hold it or barricade it. If the killer decides to hit the really low HP door, it won't break it. Instead, it's going to take a parry charge. However many parry charges that the fighter has, they'll be able to hold the door for, once the number goes down to 0 for the fighter. Once the amount of charges they have goes to 0, then the door will break. I feel like that makes sense. I wouldn't hate fighter having that. It takes a resource from them that's pretty valuable, but it also gives them more time to, hold the door and maybe get other survivors to safety. I feel like this really plays into the idea of fighter being, what's it called? I can't remember the name right now. I'll put it up on screen since I'll probably remember by then. After that idea, I have 2 more ideas left to go. My next one is if a fighter saves someone, saves in air quotes, either by parrying the killer who's near a survivor or stunning them, then they get a short boost of some kind. So like a reward. So in this situation, a speed mode mimic is chasing after a medic. Right before the mimic hits them with a swing, the fighter comes in, stuns the mimic. Since the killer was in a chase with a medic and the fighter stunned them, then the fighter gets a buff. What buff would they get? Maybe energetic, which if you don't know, gives lower stamina drain. Maybe a fighter could get a speed buff for it won't be a long buff, by the way. It'd be maybe like 3 seconds to have the buff after saving someone. This would really reward fighter for saving someone, using their ability to save someone instead of, you know, being selfish and using the ability to save themselves. Yeah, I got one last idea. Charging the X-Men. Yeah, I don't know why I even thought of this one. That's all I got right now. You know, if you have your own ideas for the fighter rework that's gonna come out in 8 days, holy crap, then, you know, comment it down. This version of a concept video is different from my last ones. I'll see how it does. Honestly, the reason why I didn't make this one like the other ones is because I hate editing them, and hopefully this one will be more chill and won't be as painful to edit. And also, I'm trying to get this video out before it hits 12 AM. I wonder how long this maintenance is gonna last. If this maintenance lasts 1 more day, then you gotta subscribe.